Hello, you alright? How's it going? Right, this week we've got something special for you. As it's the Champions League on Saturday, we're doing a Champions League final shirt special. That's right. Now these are not necessarily my favourite ever Champions League final shirts. They're just 5 Champions League final shirts that we are lucky enough to have in our collection at the moment. Now I'll kick things off with the creme de la creme. That's right, it is the 1996 Champions League final shirt worn by the white feather Fabrizio Ravanelli. He even scored in it. He put the shirt over his head. He did a little Bruce Forsyth after it. What an amazing piece of history. This was Juve's 4th appearance in a European Cup or Champions League final, but it was the first time they wore their away kit. Now they won it once before, gunning for that second title under Marcello Lippi. They took on Ajax at the Stadio Olimpico in Rome, and Rava put them ahead from a narrow angle, but Lippmann had equalised. It went to penalties. Tense, cagey. Davids and Saloy missed. Jugovic held his nerve, and the trophy was the Bianconeris. There's so much joy and beauty in this shirt. I mean, the Sony sponsor, come on, it's one of the all-time greats, isn't it? These yellow filled in stars, remember the year after they reached the final again, these stars are not filled in yellow. And look at this, the beautiful name block on there. Now, like the 95 final, which I'll show you shortly, UEFA brought in names especially for the final. They weren't worn earlier in the competition, and we've got the screen printed number and then this name text on a flock material panel. Absolutely stunning. So we'll have a little compare with the replica version here. Now it used to be one of those things with Kappa, you know, the Scudetto and the Coppa Italia shield, you had to stitch them on yourself, and that's the same here. They'd come in a little sealed package, you'd stitch them on yourself. On the player one and the final one, it's they're fully embroidered all the way through. The gold stars are also positioned a bit differently, a lot more closer together than the replica version. And then we've got the Champions League star ball. You know, you'd expect it like the Lextra nowadays, don't you? It's fully embroidered. Now there's some interesting, we'll talk more about star balls later. There's so many of them in this time. Yeah, plenty of differences as usual. Up there with the greatest shirts we've ever had. 11 years of CFS, and up there with the best we've ever had. Yeah, what a classic. So I briefly mentioned the 95 final before, and here it is, the shirt from the 95 final. Ajax, when they beat AC Milan in Vienna. Louis van Gaal's great young team, so many great names. Frank de Boer, what a name, and what a name set. This is the first time that the old name set appeared, well, it wasn't old, it was new, appeared in the competition, especially for the final. You know, following suit from the Premier League, well, a year behind, UEFA go, right, we're having names on now, and then this appeared. Navy blue with a white name. Again, it's exactly the same. If we compare it with the Ravanelli one, it's got the same squared off edges on it. Beautiful piece of work. Milan wore a different style. Then in the 96 final, Ajax and Juve both wore exactly the same as this. We've got the number on there that's beautifully machine stitched. A lot of differences to get through here. Also, first time this star ball was used. Earlier in the competition this season there was different versions of it. I'll grab you one now. So when Ajax played Milan earlier in the competition, they wore this version of patch. Look at that, Champions League 94/95. You see no name on the back, it's not there, you can have it as a shirt. And I'll show you the other version of patch. Here's the AC Milan shirt from against Ajax, and it's this star, but not the ball, just the star basically. It wasn't until 95, 96 and onwards that the star ball became the uniform patch, you know, the one and only patch that you expect to see today. 94, 95, 93, 94, they were really experimenting really with the patch. There's a lot of differences. I mean, it's such an iconic shirt. When a team wins a Champions League final, it just ascends that shirt into the gods of shirts, and this is no exception here. I mean, this is when you think Ajax, you know, you got Clive got the winner, didn't he? You've got Davids, Seedorf, De Boer, Reisiger, Rijkaard, Blind. I mean, what a team. What an exceptional team. Differences between this and the replica. I'm fortunate enough to have a replica at the moment because they're done pretty well, aren't they, Ajax, recently? But there's no watermark in the material. It's just plain, to meet the regulations, and also there's no Umbro motif. If you check your replicas, you'll see a motif down the lower front. That's not here. Red text on the white collar label as well, which is interesting. But it's all about that name, isn't it? Frank de Boer went on to be the captain, went on to be the Dutch record cap holder. Great defender, great left foot, great shirt. Now, staying in the 90s, the last final of the 90s was, of course, 1999. Manchester United, the most dramatic end to a final in 90 minutes probably ever. Beckham whipping it in, and Solskjaer's won it. Yeah, it's this shirt. Look at that, UEFA Champions League, the final, 1999 embroidery. Didn't have any embroidery, just specially for the final, this was introduced. If you're a United fan, this is the shirt, isn't it? The memories of Barcelona and the Nou Camp beating Bayern. Doesn't get any better than that. The promised land, and it happened in this shirt. Well, not exactly, because David May, who was an unused sub, but you wouldn't think it if you look at the pictures. He's all over this crowd surfing. This is his long sleeve spare from the final. Got a great name set on there, it's so thick. There's no space between the white inner and the black border. Really great print, that. Champions League style ball. So brilliant. The replica shirts have the same crest as well, embroidered Umbro, raised sharp, but you couldn't buy this shirt in long sleeve with the final embroidery. It's especially for the players. They'd worn this shirt the year before, 97-98. They introduced this European kit, let's call it Champions League kit. 98-99 obviously won it in it. Then 99-2000 it was kept on, but you often see it with the winners detail embroidery, which was worn in that campaign after the first few games. The greatest time probably in the club's history, the treble, and they did it in this, sealed the deal. Obviously some of the players did wear long sleeve. You got Becks, Blomqvist, Giggs, they all wore long sleeve shirts on the night, even in the heat of Barca in late May. Behold the majesty of the treble. So that's it for the Champions League. Now I've got two shirts from the European Cup final for you. Now I don't want to take too many pelters anyway for going Man United and I haven't got Liverpool. Thankfully, we've got a Liverpool European Cup final shirt as well. And it's Rome 84, Grobbelaar's wibbly wobbly legs. And they did it in Roma's backyard at the Stadio Olimpico. The first European Cup final ever to be decided on penalties after a 1-1 draw. And this is it, this is the shirt. What a great Umbro pinstripe design, so iconic. Liverpool got their fourth European Cup in 7 years, absolutely incredible. They were the team of the era, they dominated, and they capped it in this, the fourth time in this shirt. Now again, unfortunately it's not a worn, it's Gary Gillespie's unworn spare from the bench. Scotland international, is in his first season, didn't make it on. He did go on to spend 8 years at Anfield though. You might think, well, I've seen a replica of this and it's embroidered. Yeah, it is. Let me grab one for you. So that's a replica version. Again, embroidered to the same spec, very similar spec as the match shirt, but it's all about this fleece lining. That's because the match shirt is made from 70% nylon, 30% acetate, whereas the replica is just 100% nylon. So that gives it this great fleecy finish on the inside. Also, the replicas would say, this is a size large, it's got large written in capital letters, but the replicas don't describe the size in that way. This just says 42 inch. So you might think just because it's embroidered it's a player issue. It's not. The player issue is different. Look at that, the stitching on that. I love this Umbro style from the time. It's so 80s. But yeah, to win the final against the opposition on their own pitch, I mean, that is the sign of a truly great team. and a truly great shirt. Last but not least, I hope you've got your antiques glasses on. I should have special gloves on to touch this. It is so old and so amazing. It's Inter Milan shirt from the 1972 European Cup final. They took on Ajax in Rotterdam. They lost, unfortunately, but what a design. It's just, I mean, stand back. I mean, it's got the moth holes. You can't get away from that, but that's because it's just so old. Amazing cotton material. Just look at that Scudetto, look at that gold star, and the texture of it. You know, you need to touch that to understand that texture. It's like a Christmas tree decoration almost. Now, Inter had won the competition twice before in the mid-60s under the great Helenio Herrera. They were back in the final again, up against Johan Cruyff's great Ajax team, and Ajax won 2-0 and then became the first team since Inter to retain the competition. You know, up at Neyskins, Kroll, Muren, Schwartz. They won it again the year after. They were that good. But there's no disgrace losing to that team. If you're going to lose to any team in the European Cup final, the great Ajax team of the 70s, come on, you've just got to shrug your shoulders, haven't you? The shirt belonged to the left-sided midfielder Mario Frustalupi. Now, they had some great stars as well. They had Jair da Costa over on the other wing. They got Sandro Mazzola, the captain. They got Roberto Boninsegna up front, Facchetti at the back. It was a great team, but they weren't quite up to it against Ajax. Now, obviously, back in these days, it's just made by a local manufacturer, and I haven't got a replica, and come on, to compare it to. There is none. So the maker's label is actually down on the hem of the shirt, and there we go, Maglificio Vittori Gianni. It's even got his address. It wasn't until 77-78 that Puma came in and were the first like big boy manufacturers for the Nerazzurri. This is actually Frustalupi's last match for the team. He was off to Lazio after this. We'll just look at how the Scudetto and star are embroidered on there, and also this great cloth number. Again, it's the texture. It's all about the texture, how that's machine stitched on there. It's truly brilliant. It's a true work of art. It's a masterpiece. It's an antique. It belongs in a museum. It's an absolute joy to behold. Inter Milan 1972 European Cup final. Now, I wish I had more Champions League and European Cup final shirts to share with you. Unfortunately, that's all we've got at the moment. If you ever get any more, they're straight in the video, don't worry about it. And if you've got any, please give me a link to your collection in the comments below. I would love to have a look and admire what you've got. Any other comments, I'll be back on the old requests next week, I promise, to sort you out with some of those. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you soon for another top 5. Cheers.